Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 65, and we are coming to you again from the quarantine sessions, if you like. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How's it going, buddy?
Not bad, my good friend. How are you?
Yeah, good. I want to get this out of the way right at the start of the episode because we're doing our best to have a no politics policy on the show. And right now, with all the stories that are going on in the world, it'd be so easy to just really steer into all of these and point at this person and that person and this, that, and the other. But actually, I think the focus of the podcast should very much be about taking you away from that for an hour. You know what I mean? Because let's be realistic. The world is absolutely insane right now. I hate social media right now. I don't want to be on Twitter. I don't want to be anywhere because it breaks my heart to see some of the stuff that's going on in the world. So I do want to come out and say, of course, I didn't even run this by Mike, but I know I don't need to. Of course, hashtag Black Lives Matter. Of course. I cannot fathom ever not agreeing with that as a sentiment, you know?
I've had multiple instances of being like, you're saying all lives matter. Black Lives Matter means that too,
yes,
but more.
Yes.
Why are you saying all lives matter? And the number of people who want to argue back, it's like, no, this isn't an argument. I'm telling you, nothing about that sentence is ambiguous. Black Lives Matter doesn't say that white lives don't matter,
sure,
or that any other lives don't matter. Fucking shut up for once.
Yeah.
The problem here is that this discourse, and I'm guilty of it talking about it right now, is filled with white voices with none of the lived experience of the people that are calling out for help.
Yes. And I think if you just take just a few minutes of your day to see some of the ridiculous video footage that gets posted on Reddit, if you can look at that and come to any conclusion other than that's not right, the way people are treated in certain places in the world, that's not right, and something needs to be done about that. Obviously, we get a lot of shtick from people for talking about America, and largely I think where you talk about another white voice, etc. It's also, I'd look at it and say, well, it's another not American voice. American politics is so big as a subject. It's something that the rest of the world follows. But in the grand scheme of things, I want to say it's nothing to do with me, and it's certainly something that that isn't a massive part of my life. So I can't even pretend to fathom begin to understand the complexities that different racial groups in the States go through and experience. But it breaks my heart to see some of the stuff that I've seen recently. So we're very much supporters of that, and we hope that I'm not going to say that I hope the world burns down and that riots and looting continues, because obviously that isn't good, but absolutely change would be a wonderful thing, and we can hope for that. But also, whilst you're paying attention, this show is brought to you by Ormsby Guitars. We want to thank Perry and the guys over at Ormsby for all of their support. It is very much appreciated. For those unfamiliar with Ormsby and what they do, they're wonderful guitars built by Perry out in Australia. And probably what they're most notable for in recent years is actually doing these runs of guitars that are actually built offshore and then brought into Australia for quality control and then sent on out. So if you head on over to ormsbyguitars.com and check out the pre-order section on their website, you can check out some of the upcoming runs, get involved for a very low price, and prepayment plans, payment over a series of months, great way to get yourself a killer instrument at an absolutely killer price. So as always, thank you so much for the support, guys. Check them out and let them know that we sent you. Anyway, on with the show. So as always, a huge thank you to Perry and the guys over at Ormsby Guitars. When we first started working with Ormsby, it was super cool to do that. Also seemed crazy to me, the idea that those guys would think that people cared enough about our opinions on things like that. But it is genuinely warming to see the amount of people that will either leave a message on Discord or post something on Facebook and say that they've ordered an Ormsby because they see how passionate we are about them. It's just unbelievably cool, super cool, and it's really cool to me that people out there are trying new things. I hate the idea of people going back to the same old brands over and over again when there are. It's not just that there are companies out there that are making things that are not the normal things. There are plenty of companies that make boring Strat copies, etc. But when there are companies out there that are making things that are different to what is currently available on the market, I don't when we're sort of representing the Ormsby brand, I don't think the focus of that is trying to convince you to buy an Ormsby over something else. I think it's much more a case of just drawing to your attention that if these are features that you have been looking for and you don't have access to, have you considered that this is a great option for that sort of thing? And yeah, I think Ormsby are absolutely slaying it when it comes to multi-scale features and cost. Like, I think they're killing everybody when it comes to cost. The amount of features you get for the amount of money that you pay for one of their instruments, no-brainer, absolute no-brainer. If you're looking to get into the multi-scale, I say 7-string, but I know you're a 6-string guy, but I'm going to say 7-string anyway. If you want to get into the multi-scale 7-string type thing, and you don't want to break the bank, Ormsby, great option. So,
or 8 or 6,
all right, yeah.
and or you can do what I do and be a total poser, have a 6-string that you tune down.
I know.
So no, like, you're right, and I think my biggest thing is for people to go out and try them and see what the community's like as well, because there's a lot of support and care and help from that group.
I don't know how crazy I am about that. Because before you know it, you end up like the Kiesel group on Facebook. The last thing I like is I like knowing people that play instruments that I play, but it's the Kiesel cult. Come on, I don't see that as a massive positive. Having said that, I did an interesting thing just recently. I made that video where I tested the Mayonnaise and the Ormsby to see the straight frets versus the angled frets, and I posted that on Facebook, and I didn't want anybody to think that I was choosing one, representing one over the other. It was a genuine, I was interested to see the results. And actually, to be completely honest, I thought the Mayonnaise held up a lot better than I thought it would. I thought the fan frets were absolutely going to kill it when it came to tension, but it wasn't the game changer that I felt it would be. What I did do is I posted it in the Ormsby group, and I posted it in the Mayonnaise group, and I gave a little write-up about the video, and in the Ormsby one, I said the things that I thought were great about the Ormsby, and in the Mayonnaise one, I said the things that I thought were great about the Mayonnaise. Definitely got a hell of a lot more interaction in the Ormsby group. So just kind of pointing out what you said there about there being an active fan community, that's good. That is, just don't turn into a cult, guys. I'd hate to have to say, sorry, Perry, love the guitars, you're a really cool guy, but I can't really do anything with you anymore because your fans are idiots. That would be the worst, you know what I mean? And that is something I would absolutely do. Like, if Jeff Kiesel got on the phone and was like, Levi, we'd love to collaborate with the Guitar Souls, I'd be like, man, you do make some genuinely good guitars, and aside from sometimes you being an absolute clown, I do like your guitars, but I just couldn't bear the thought of hanging around with Kiesel fans. That would be the big issue for me. So there's that.
So we shouldn't get political because it might cause problems with certain groups of people and start to ostracise them. But there's you going straight into, if you own a Kiesel, you're a fucking cult member.
Well, that's definitely not true, because Doug owns a Kiesel, and he's a good guy. So Pete Morris, friend and fan of the show, he also Kiesel has a couple of Kiesels, and
fair.
And Charlie Griffiths plays Kiesel stuff, and we're going to talk about Haken just shortly. So just as an additional aside, actually, finished Doom. Came round to it a little bit more. It's hard game, very hard game, brutally hard game.
That was the idea, as far as I'm aware. And I think those mechanics you were talking about that you weren't that keen on, I think they were designed essentially to put into the game for the end game experience. Yeah. Because when it gets that difficult, you couldn't just run about in one platform shooting without just being insta-ruined.
Yeah. I have to say, I think the issue for me, though, is I think any game like that, I think when you start out a game and you feel weak and underpowered, I think the great game design is by the end of the game, you've developed enough control of the mechanics, and you've also kind of got whatever perks or abilities, weapons, whatever, so you feel more powerful. There's that great feeling at the end of a game sometime of, I'm going to go back to the start now and absolutely blast through the first enemies that I had to deal with and really show them who's boss. I never really...
You've learnt the gameplay technique, you've learnt that skill, I get you.
And I never really felt that with Doom. I always felt that in the fights in Doom, especially the closer you get to the end of the game, there's not that they're frantic. Don't get me wrong; they're absolutely insane. I don't think the music is nearly as good as the first one, by the way, but they're frantic and insane. But I have to say that there's not a feeling of excitement and power when I'm doing them. There's a genuine stress in the fights because you know how easily you can die. Just how it can be whipped away from you and have to go back and do the whole damn thing again. So there wasn't a sense of I'm a badass at the end of a fight. It was just a massive sense of relief of I made it. And I don't necessarily know if that's what I'm craving. And I know this isn't a podcast about games, but I thought I would throw that out there. I do have a tip for everybody though. I've started playing something new. I don't know if we have any fans of the XCOM game series. I was always a huge fan of the XCOM games.
Never played any. I
love,
think I've got one in Steam, but never played it.
Yeah, I love those kind of turn-based strategy type things. The XCOM games are fantastic. If you've played the XCOM games and you enjoy the XCOM games, I've just started playing Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden. That is absolutely excellent. Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden. I would recommend giving that a go if you like your very tactical combat games. So that's.
Were you and Sean playing that by any chance?
Are you calling me and Sean mutants?
No, I'm saying that seems like the kind of game that Sean would be into.
Oh, is Sean into that type of thing?
Sean's into anything that's computer game wise, I would think. I'm sure he's mentioned XCOM, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Anyway, that's a completely personal aside, I'm sorry.
I'll shoot him a message. Anyway, let's get on with actual news and podcasts for that stuff.
Yeah.
We've been meaning to talk about this actually now for several episodes, but we keep forgetting about it because it doesn't get posted in our damn group. And I just wanted to make mention of this. The Joe Rogan Spotify podcast deal. I mean, whoa. Now, sure, we all understand and appreciate that Joe Rogan is going to be the hottest property in the podcast universe. He has an unbelievably large audience, and he makes a lot of content. He gets some really interesting characters on. And actually, I think that's the best part about his podcast. Like, I subscribe to him on YouTube. I don't watch everything that he puts up because he interviews so many people from so many different walks of life that there are things that I find interesting and there are things that I don't find interesting. Yeah, there are definitely issues that I have with him as a host in general. I think he's can sometimes go a bit easy on people, but such is life. He is a big podcaster, and he has just signed a multi-year deal with Spotify that's speculated to be worth $100 million to go exclusive on Spotify. That's a lot of money.
It is. It's funny how they can't find $100 million to pay the people that have essentially held up the platform for day one. You know, the content creators out there that have given them licenses to run their music and essentially profiteer off of yet again the music industry. Yeah. But somehow they can find what's reported to be $100 million just so that Joe Rogan won't put his podcasts anywhere else.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck off.
Yeah, it makes me angry because it's an astonishingly large amount of money. He must make more money on Spotify than just about any music artist on Spotify. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, no. There isn't a single artist on earth that would make anywhere near that kind of money on Spotify. It's just not going to happen.
So on the one hand, I'm happy for him because I know he puts in the work, and he has worked hard to get where he is. And as a comedian, like, some of his comedy, I think is all right. Other parts of his comedy, I'm not crazy on. But the guy has worked hard. You know, he's worked hard to get where he is. I would never. Let's be realistic, right? If we were in the same position and Spotify said, "Hey guys, fuck $100 million. If we got offered $1 million for a multi-year deal with Spotify, I think we're still going to be like, thank you very much. We will absolutely take that."
I would still shit on them, but I would take the money.
Exactly. We'd have a podcast exclusive to Spotify, and I think our angle would be bitching about Spotify.
That would be it.
Until we get
things that Spotify done wrong that don't actually apply to us. One.
Yeah. So it was more of an opportunity to kind of bitch about Spotify. So fuck those guys. Okay, let's talk about 3 Dot Recordings.
I love that. It was just so straight to the point. Oh, fuck those guys. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good segue for how I feel about that. 3 Dot Recordings are releasing the bulb. I don't know what you call it, like the back catalogue. Was it like 10 discs?
It's called the archives. Yeah, it's the archives. 10 discs.
120 tracks or something like that. Yeah. Bulb put them out for free on the internet 10 years ago. Why would I pay someone for them 10 years later? That's just my opinion on it. I think it's I don't want to say a greedy cash grab, but it's certainly an attempt to make money on something that was somehow free content before.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're... I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm just looking through it to see if there's any additional information.
I don't know if they've been remixed or remastered, and I don't think they have. For what I've read, I might be wrong. There might be new content for stuff that wasn't released, but I remember before Periphery even released their first album, I think.
Sure.
Ollie Bulb's music was basically a zip format online, free.
I mean, at the same time, we're not 100% sure if they could be releasing these, and not charging. It could be just to have them under the banner of 3 Dot Recordings, like so on Spotify. So when people do listen to them for free on Spotify, and the stuff does generate revenue, it all comes in via that one source, via 3 Dot Recordings. There are like a million reasons why this could be the case. I'd be very surprised if this gets released for huge commercial gain. Is what for the reasons you've said. I think anybody that's interested in these probably already has them.
Well, maybe I'm completely wrong. As I say, for the limited research I've done, I'm speculating on why I think that's probably the case. And if I'm wrong, egg in my face, take it in the chin. It's certainly not going to cause any problems. I'd like to be wrong. That's just my opinion on it.
I think you've still got a completely valid point, though, regardless. Like, even if they give these recordings away for free, the idea of getting excited about stuff that has been in public circulation for 10 years, yeah, I can see why that might not be massively appealing.
I just, unless it's some special version of them,
Sure.
I'm not saying that people shouldn't support Periphery and Bulb, Misha specifically, if they want to, and buy it. People might want to collect that. It might be in their interest. That's fine. No problem. Yeah. Like, I'm not shitting on anyone for wanting it. I'm certainly not shitting on anyone for buying it and supporting artists. We speak about music business all the time, and Misha's a great example of things that we talk about or have talked about in the past. But paying money for free content 10 years later doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. While we're on the subject, would you like to throw a shout out to Casey?
Casey Sabol's new single.
Yep.
Who was as far as I remember, or as far as I know, was the original vocalist, definitely one of the original vocalists for Periphery. Back, I remember hearing his version of Icarus Lives and just about shitting my guts out with, like, this guy's got pipes, he's got really cool melodies, his lyrics are pretty interesting, the harmonies are cool as fuck, and he's got a new single out called Candle in the Dark.
Yep.
Which is pretty interesting. My explanation to you was it sounds like David Lee Roth peak or Michael from Steel Panther. That is Michael's the frontman's name, isn't
Michael
it?
Starr,
Michael Starr, sorry, from Steel Panther, like at their peak, singing a power ballad for like a new version of the Transformers animated movie. That's like the only way I can describe it. It's like cinematic, epic, big ballad, giant voice, suspenseful, but there's also loads going on in the music.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool track. To me, the thing that you don't mention, the thing that jumps out to me is, like, I'm a Disney kid, right? I live and breathe for Disney, and the fact that I've mentioned Disney right now reminds me of the thing that depresses me in life, which is I'm currently not at Disneyland.
Don't think about it.
I know. It's hard to put it out of my head, mate. I'm not there, and that makes me sad.
But you're in your cool studio talking to me. That's better than any trip to Disneyland.
I mean, dude, I love you, but I love Disney more than life itself. So it's my happy place.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so to me, there's like a huge, like you said theatrical, right, and cinematic, and yeah, like it's the modulations are very Disney is the only way I could put it. Love it, absolutely love it. Candle in the Dark.
I get what you mean.
Please do go and check it out. And it's not got a lot of traffic. It's only got 1,200 plays on YouTube. So
he's not been in the metal / alt rock music community at all, really, in the last 10, maybe not 10 years, but say 5, 6, 7 years, because he's really doing country music.
Sure. I
don't know any other active projects he's had in between, apart from doing one guest vocal on an O Sleeper track, which I don't know when that was, right. And I don't listen to O Sleeper, so I don't know how big that is. but the last singles I remember him being on that were kind of metal or this kind of vibe were when he done Icarus Lives with Periphery, and then he had a couple of his own tracks out, one called Illuminate, one called We Are Legion, and one... cannot remember the name yet, but a couple of cool tracks.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd like an EP out or whatever, if it was just self-released stuff. I think he might have been somewhat involved in helping with the vocal production for the first Periphery album, but my point is he's not really been in the metal community very often, or actively for a while, as far as I can tell, and as far as I'm aware. So
yeah,
I can see why.
Well, fingers crossed there's more like that to come, because I did enjoy it. I've listened to it a lot. I had that on play a lot. Okay, let's spin this off into Mike Portnoy. Mike Portnoy, Haken, and Nepotism, or not Nepotism, but this is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful, because I mean, we're absolutely guilty of this from time to time. Like, often we will use the wrong words when we're trying to describe something on the podcast. In fact, we got called out a lot in the last episode for a lot of our mistakes that we've made in the last episode with the one-hit wonders. Lots of people took issue with some of our descriptions of one-hit wonders, and lots of people also pointed out that songs that we were calling one-hit wonders were actually covers of older songs, etc., etc. So, you know,
that doesn't mean they're not a one-hit wonder, though. That would just mean that band had one hit with that song and then didn't do anything else commercially.
Oh no, sure. I just mean when, like, I would specifically make reference to, you know, the original version of the song. Ram Jam's Black Betty was one that we got called out on. Ram Jam's Black Betty, that was a cover. The original is older than that. There were a few examples like that, actually. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Take that to the chin.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of what we were doing, although we said the original and clearly weren't right, the point was that these are one-hit wonders for these artists doing this song. Right? It's okay.
We had fun, though. I enjoyed that.
That was really good fun. I was away kicking myself after it, like thinking of all these singles, like, oh my God, what about that one and that one and this one? And well,
I did it. I went through the list with Hayley when we were sat in the garden in the sun. And much like you, when I started going through the list, I know it's a long list. So I started doing it. And then after a few, I was like, okay, let's do something else now. And she was like, no, do the rest. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. I found it really interesting, actually. She got a ton of the ones that you didn't get, but the ones that you were getting that just seemed like obvious ones, she's like, I have no idea who did that. So yeah, I think it's that kind of one-hit wonders is that annoyingly useless category in a quiz that you either know or you don't know, and there's no real explanation as to why you know or why you don't know. I can't fathom why you didn't know that Eye of the Tiger was by Survivor. That's just one of those, like, everybody knows that, but apparently not every, and there's the same Spirit in the Sky, like it surprised me that people don't immediately know that. But yeah, there you go, one of those useless knowledge things. Anyway, Mike Portnoy. This is hilarious. I'll read it out. Mike Portnoy has recently called out a fan on Instagram who accused him of nepotism for promoting his son Max's bands and music. It all started out with Mike praising Virus, the upcoming album by Haken. We've got another story on them in a second, due out on June the 5th, which actually does not feature Mike's son. The fan commented, ugh, the nepotism, it's too much to handle. Mike replied, nepotism, do you know the meaning of the word? What on earth are you talking about? The fan responded, sorry Mike, I just read their Wikipedia page. I got them confused with Max Portnoy's band Next to None. To be fair, they did tour together a lot. I'll remove my tweet, no hard feelings. And yeah, I know. Then Mike
hard feelings after being shitty. Okay.
Yeah. Mike then wrote back and said, so if it was about Next to None or Max's second band, Tala, you'd call it nepotism. It's called being a good father. If you can't handle me posting about Max and my daughter Melody, please do me a favour and unfollow me. Mike then shared a screenshot of the conversation with the fan's username crossed out and wrote, let's get something straight. Me posting about my kids is not nepotism. It's called being a good parent and a proud father. See this idiot's tweet at me. So if you don't want to see posts about Melody, Max or Tala, please unfollow me now. Now!
Get to the chopper now!
What
something like
on earth would drive anybody to be annoyed about a father posting about something that his son or daughter is doing? So that's not nepotism.
I would say maybe their heart was in the right place, right? I went to see Iron Maiden and Steve Harris's daughter was a support act.
Right.
That's possible nepotism. They've obviously got the strength or the sway to convince the artist or the tour manager or the events company that it's worth putting this person on the lineup because I want to play these shows and I want my daughter to do better. That's nepotism, right? That's an unfair advantage over other artists. Sharing content on fucking Instagram to help promote other people, not nepotism.
Yeah, I think, of course, there's probably like a scale for how far something could be considered nepotism. In the Maiden situation, it's certainly more than the situation here, but I still wouldn't say it is. And the reason is I don't think the support slot for Iron Maiden is an opportunity that everybody has access to. You know, ultimately that comes down to Maiden as a decision. They will ultimately make the call to give somebody that slot or not give somebody that slot. So to get it's, I'm not going to say it's shitty. Actually, I'd say it's probably good parenting, giving your children opportunities like that. If you have the ability to give them a big platform like that, then that would be fine. If Mike Portnoy's job was to promote music professionally, and there was only X amount of space that he had in order to do that, and everybody could apply to be in those spaces, but he kept giving those slots to his children, then sure, nepotism. But not only for the guy to be wrong, but him to literally be wrong and get the band wrong as well is absolutely hilarious. Absolutely.
Good effort, though.
It's not often that I will stand behind Mike Portnoy anymore and be like, yeah, you fucking go get him, Mike. But in this particular instance, yeah, Mike,
does
you
it,
go
does
get
it still
him.
hurt that he left Dream Theater?
Broken hearted, mate. Absolutely.
Still hurt.
Can't deal with it. Can't deal with it. It's actually more all the other bands that he stops from happening because of his... that guy must be in more bands than any other artist in the history of music. He's probably been in more bands than Brent Mason's played on records. It's just I can't comprehend how he has as many bands. And more annoyingly, some of them are really good, but then he just goes on to do other bands because it's like I know he's not just trying to recapture the success of Dream Theater, because if he was doing that, he would be working hard in the bands to push them. I know that he's doing it for fun. Like, I know he enjoys it. But it just really annoys me when bands like Flying Colours put out an album, and I like that, the first album. They've done a couple more albums since. But yeah, I just wanted more of it rather than like more fucking Winery Dogs or all the other bands that he does that I just have no interest in. So yeah, there we go. What do you think?
I don't really have any strong feelings on Mike Portnoy at all. Great drummer, but I've never been big on Dream Theater. And in this example, like, you're right, like, I mean, even my example wasn't really nepotism. I get what you're saying. They got a better opportunity, but you're right, it's going to be a very closed opportunity for any artist to ever get the support slot for Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
But like, sharing music on your platform, just promoting music that I don't imagine he's sharing it because he doesn't like it, or just because it's his child. I'd imagine he's sharing it because he's incredibly proud.
Yeah.
Come on to fuck.
Yeah, but
I can't grudge somebody putting on their own social media platforms, listen to this music that I like.
I know.
Fucking hell, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of listening to this music that I like, and Haken.
Let's do it.
Did there? Haken guitarist Richard Henshaw, the 10 prog albums that changed my life. I thought this would be fun because prog is obviously like a really broad genre.
All-encompassing.
Yeah. And I think it's really popular nowadays to be into progressive music. But we forget that prog is so unbelievably varied. I certainly remember when I first started getting into prog, magazines were, Total Guitar magazine were posting things like Muse and Radiohead and being like, you know, progressive bands. These guys are progressive, and then they would talk about the history of progressive music and where that came from. And they reference bands like Pink Floyd, who I would say are relatively progressive, or even bands like Queen. They put them under the progressive category. It's a massive banner that could be all encompassing, and it's a genre that's ever evolving. So I thought it'd be really cool to get a feel for who Richard Henshaw considers to be some of the top prog albums, some of the top prog bands. So I will tell you who they are, and then you tell me if you know the album, if you're a fan, if you're not, etc., etc. So number one, we have Devon Townsend.
Who's that?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it Terrier? 2001 album? The 2001 album Terrier? Or Terrier?
Mm-hmm.
Fan? No? Yeah.
It's been that long since I've listened to Devon.
Sure.
Stupid as that sounds, like I'm going to just look up the track listing. This one starts with Olives. This is a really good album, actually. It's weird. There's a lot of weird soundscapey bits on this album. Nobody's Here is like a weird pop song. Deep Peace is fucking incredible. Earth Day is also incredible. The rest of it, I don't want to say give or take, but it's not my favourite album by him.
Sure. Richard says, it's still one of my favourite albums of all time. I love it. I love the multi-layered approach to his writing. It's so dense in terms of the arrangements, and you can hear all this weird stuff like dogs barking in the background. It's all so weird. He says, I think it was written when he was going through a tricky time mentally, and I think you can hear it in the music. It's a special album for me. It really inspired me. So to be on tour with him was a big deal for us. So
that's a great way to describe it, and that's what I quite like about Devin Townsend's full backline. Back catalogue. None of the albums really sound the same.
No.
Like, they sound like Devin Townsend. They sound like they've been produced by Devin Townsend. But some of the songwriting can be so massively different.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Number 2, we have Dream Theater, Awake, the second Dream Theater album. It's one of my favourite Dream Theater albums because it's the introduction. Sorry, it's the third Dream Theater album. I always forget about the first one, Dreaming Day Unite, because it doesn't have James LaBrie singing on it. There's some 7-string stuff on this album. Like this is certainly what you would consider to be the heavier progressive Dream Theater album.
Was Glass Prison on that one?
No, that's on 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence.
I don't know like Dream Theater at all. I know you know their fucking back catalogue back to front, or at least used to. What tracks would I know from that album if I knew them?
I mean, Erotomania is on that record. Caught in a Web is on that record. 6 O'Clock is on that record. I mean, there's a Lie is on that record. It's honestly, Dream Theater have got one of those interesting sounds that, like any good band, have developed over time. And when I got into them, it was when Train of Thought had just come out, which was, I think, the one that everybody gave a go because it's the metal album, if you like. It's progressive, but it's heavy. There's very little progressive stuff on that record. When you go back to the big hit, which obviously would be what's the name of that? What's the name of that album? That's the song. Why can I not remember the name of their second album?
Is it Images and Sounds?
Images and Words. There we go.
Images and Words.
Yeah, sure. So, well
done. I don't know the band, man. Like, I know that Kieran either was going to see them or did go and see them, and that was the 25-year anniversary tour or something like
that. Images and Words was certainly super progressive. Awake is cool to me because it's still definitely progressive. It's got that progressive element, but it's a lot heavier than what came before. And after this was, I think, Falling Into Infinity, which is much more poppy in sound. So I do like that record. But what's your favourite Dream Theater record, people who's listening to the show?
Yes.
Yeah. In at number 3.
I've been just hearing that because I've never listened to any of them.
Opeth, Still Life.
Still Life. Do I know Still Life? See, I know these album names.
Sure.
And pardon me for being so fucking ignorant and typing and trying to see what they are, but I'm trying if I know the tracks off these albums.
Richard said, Still Life is my favourite Opeth album. It's just so bleak. They've got these two elements, this jazz-infused acoustic playing and really dark, crazy death metal. I love the juxtaposition between these two tonalities and soundscapes.
That's fair. And again, a band that seems to somehow evolve but always sound like themselves with every album is Opeth.
Yeah.
Fun fact, easily the most boring band I've ever seen live.
Yeah, to be fair, I've not seen them live, but I've heard that consistently.
Like, tremendously tight, sound great, but it's just 4-5 men standing on stage not moving. Even when I saw Bloodbath, when Michael Ackerfeld did vocals for them,
right? I
saw them the same weekend as Opeth. I'm just going to move this microphone, sorry if it makes any noise. And you had this band of what was meant to be like kind of Swedish death metal, and then Michael Ackerfeld in like a really bad corpse paint, face paint, wearing a leather jacket, just walking about the stage and then talking in between the songs. So he's got this vicious, like unbelievable guttural growl, and then in between songs just talking dead polite, and like, I don't want to say it ruined the immersion, but it didn't really fit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
kind of like if you've ever heard or seen any live Death albums. Like, you get, it's a spiritual. Thank you. Like, Chuck was so personable, even in between songs. Sorry. Anyway, so number 5 on the list.
4. Pink Floyd, Animals.
Don't know Animals either that well.
I'll go through them a little bit faster from here. Gentle Giant, Three Friends. So this is old school prog, 1972.
Right, like Jethro Tull style.
Yeah.
Madness. Okay.
Radiohead, OK Computer.
I mean, I think that's going to be in anybody's list that's going to talk about like progressive albums that were in the mainstream in the last however many years. Yeah. Fun fact: another band that I've never really been into.
Okay.
Not that I dislike them. I just don't. I've never listened to them.
I'll give you that. That's definitely a fact. I don't know if it's a fun fact, but you do you.
Well, what I mean is, I've never taken the time.
Sure.
To see if I'm really into them or not. So if somebody put some on and I was like, I'm really into this, then I probably would enjoy it. But
yes, Fragile.
You know what ruined it? Oh, okay, fair enough. This is a good
record.
One. Mm-hmm.
Square Pusher, Go Plastic.
Square Pusher, is it?
So I'll read what Richard says.
Electronic stuff.
Yeah, Square Pusher and electronic music are a big influence on me. I think with progressive music, you're sometimes limited to what you can achieve by playing instruments. With Square Pusher, the fact that he's programming all the parts, apart from the bass, the possibilities at his disposal are limitless. So he just goes crazy, especially with the glitch editing on the drums. And on top of that, he's a virtuoso bass player. I went to see him a few years ago, and he was playing his crazy, glitchy electronic music backed by an orchestra, which was an amazing experience. Now, that sounds really appealing to me.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like... another artist I would love to see live that I don't really listen to, but I think would just be unbelievable would be Aphex Twin.
Okay.
Same idea, just madness.
Yeah.
But sometimes some very cleverly put together madness.
Number 9, Flying Lotus, You're Dead.
Is that one of Kieran's pals? I'm sure that's another electronic artist, and he does like a 3D thing live, where essentially he's got like a screen in front and behind him. And there's images projected, and a big light show as well as it like projected above him. So it's like crazy 3D visuals and shit. If that's who I'm thinking
Richard says he's a hip hop guy, and this album is mind-blowingly amazing. It's like a free-form jazz odyssey with him rapping on top of it. Drum production is incredible. Out there, really messed up, distorted, and overcompressed. I went to see him at Glastonbury, and he was joined on stage by a guy called Thundercat, who is a bass player and was shredding on his bass through the show. So I got into his music too. I was investigating Flying Lotus' sound, and he cited Gentle Giant as an influence. If you don't hear people in hip-hop cite that kind of thing as an influence, sorry, you don't usually hear that, but if you listen to the album, you can really hear the harmonies are very modern, jazz-based and progressive. So for me, it's a jazzy, progressive hip-hop odyssey.
Kieran's, I'm certain that's the same person Kieran told me he was going to see, and he sent me a video.
Right. And
the stage production just looked fucking unbelievable. Really, really clever.
Number 10, Tigran Hamasyan. I struggle with the name, Hamasyan.
It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I know. I checked out some of his stuff just recently. He's a pianist. Let me read this. So, when I'm sat at my piano composing music, a lot of ideas tend to be a lot more colourful and expansive than when I'm at my guitar. The ideas come out on my guitar and tend to be more riff-based and rhythmic, while it's more harmonic on the piano. Playing classical music from an early age, I think, helped form my harmonic palette, I should say, for the early years of my musical journey. But I've tried to push it further and explore more jazz harmonies by listening to the likes of Tigran Hamasyan. This guy's my favourite musician. It's not your typical prog album in any sense. He's a jazz pianist. But he cites the likes of Meshuggah as an influence. He fuses these messed up Meshuggah rhythms with American folk and jazz harmonies and always plays the piano like he's playing the guitar, just riffing away. It's the most interesting and unique music I've heard in years. In terms of rhythm, it's been a massive inspiration on me over the last 6 years. So I'll send you one of his tracks actually after the podcast, mate. One was, I did a listening party stream, a live one, but it was taking suggestions. I was literally just playing anything people would send to me, and somebody sent me one of his tracks, and it was the best thing I listened to all night. Really enjoyed it. So
that sounds really cool. Yeah. Speaking of best things I've listened to in a while, just a random segue, just to throw in a wee bit of a, not self-promotion, just like a shameless promotion. Long-time friend of the show and of ours, Conor McGowran, another single out from Enigma Division called Afterglow. It's only come out today.
Yeah.
I think you can check it out on overdrive.ie, which is an Irish music site. But again, ridiculous guitar solo, ridiculous. So go check it out.
Of course, because it's Connor.
Frightening human, man. Frightening.
I mean, I guess we have to get political then, don't we?
There's still a couple to talk about, but just for context, we're not going into it for political reasons. We're going into it because we're talking about music business.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. Like, we don't want to push any agendas on anyone with this. What we love doing more so than anything is laughing. There's no th in there. Laughing at people's stupidity, I would say. When businesses do things that are just absurdly stupid, terrible business decisions, you just have to look at them and go, what were you thinking? Ha ha ha, idiots. Not necessarily passing judgment on the things they say, though of course I think some of these you will look at and you will pass judgment. Let's start it actually with the System of a Down one then, because that will kind of showcase what I mean.
Yep, there's three examples. This is probably the least extreme, and then the next two get more political, don't they? So anyway, right, let's talk about John Dolmayan. Dolmayan, is that how you say it?
I assume Dolmayan.
We'll say Dolmayan. Yeah. Jeez, Dolmayo.
I've actually been talking to Lee about John's drumming a lot just recently for reasons that will become apparent as time goes by.
Funny that.
Yeah, he said that because Lee's an incredible drummer, like genuinely incredible drummer, and he's got these really interesting influences when it comes to drumming. Because he'll look back at the old records that he listened to growing up and he'll pick out the odd ones that have great drummers on that you don't think have great drummers on. Like Stains, Break the Cycle. He's like, the drumming on that record is excellent. Like, it's just really groove based and just goes really underappreciated. And he said John is very much one of those guys where he doesn't... I don't think you think of him as a particularly technical drummer. He's not like a high-level metal player, but he's got a lot of dynamic.
Just in the pocket.
Yeah, there's a lot of dynamic to his playing. He, when you listen to a song like Toxicity, it's incredible to hear just how much he's bouncing around with ghost notes on that snare drum throughout that entire tune. To me, when I listen to him, he plays like a classic rock drummer, like literally a classic rock genre drummer. But turned up to 11. He's a classic rock drummer that's found himself in a heavy metal band, which
John Bonham let off the leash.
Yeah, that would be actually an awesome way of putting it. He's got that to him, which I think is really cool. But yeah, you posted this up in our Facebook group and said System of a Down are cancelled. And
jokingly,
no, I know that, but like I think a lot of people will try and go that angle with this, because politics is so polarizing, and I have to point out that we've known that John Dolmayan is a Trump supporter for a long time. There are a lot of people out there that are Trump supporters. Shock fucking horror! He got voted into office. He's got a lot of supporters. Chris from Nirvana came out and as a Trump supporter just recently, right?
I'm sure we reported that about 10 episodes ago.
Well, he had there was a new interview, and suddenly people are no longer fans of Nirvana.
Do you have a different political view to me? Cancelled.
Yeah,
that was kind of my point of the joke.
Yeah, no, sure.
Let's give some context to what we're rambling on about.
Yeah.
So, consequencesound.net reported yesterday, actually, System of a Down's John Dolmayan calls President Trump the greatest friend to minorities. And the tagline is, don't like it, doesn't change the truth of it. So, System of a Down have long been known to preach left-leaning ideals in both their music and social media posts, but not drummer John Dolmayan. In fact, he's now singing the praises of President Trump as the greatest friend to minorities. In the midst of racial tension across the United States following the death of George Floyd in police custody, Trump tweeted, "My admin has done more for the black community than any president since Abraham Lincoln. Passed opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott, guaranteed funding for HBCUs, school choice, passed criminal justice reform, lowest black unemployment, poverty and crime rates in history, and the best is yet to come."
Sounds like Lance Benedict.
How much of that's true or based in any reality, I don't know, but we're not here to comment on that.
Yeah.
So Dolmayan shared an image of Trump along with the above quote on Instagram and added, which is his own words, "Let's not let the narrative that's being spun make us forget the truth of this statement. The most attacked president in history Tell that to JFK. Yet the greatest friend to minorities. Don't believe it? Look at the stats. Don't like it? Don't change or doesn't change the truth of it. So the next sentence is, the drummer's System of a Down bandmate, Serge Tankian, must be shaking his head at that comment. The singer recently called for protesters to coordinate online and block every street everywhere and force the regime to resign, adding, your time has come, at real Donald Trump. So he's tweeted straight at him.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really interesting conversation for that band, I think, if they ever do end up back in the studio.
Well,
like, you know, these ideals we've been preaching across all our albums. Like, do we all really believe in this?
I think they're a really, really interesting band, and because of things that are going on behind the scenes at the moment, I've been listening to a shit ton of them, but just also reading up on them and getting some real deep insights into who they are as people. I know they're never going to put out an album again. It's never going to happen. That's fine. I'm okay. I'm actually okay with that now.
No, I am not.
I'm disappointed, but there are some great albums that exist, and I think they're just very interesting people. When you look at Serge's history, where he's come from, and the reason he is the way he is, and actually a lot of the work he's done outside of music, it's genuinely like he is a. I don't agree with him on everything, but I think his heart is very much in the right place, and he's an activist. He believes in the things that he's doing, and he's trying to make positive change, and I respect that. But you know what I respect even more? It's not that John Domain is a Trump supporter. It's that we have to take a step back and go, Serge and John will be at odds with each other politically, and they always will have been. They always will have been, but they can still coexist with each other, and they still manage to put out some great records. And the System have got a lot of really political stuff, and they've also got a lot of really absurd stuff. And I like both of it. You know, kind of they can coexist. I like that, a message of peace.
Well, I mean, even like the next two paragraphs are great, talking about exactly what you're saying. So, in a previous interview that Consequence of Sound did with Domain earlier this year, he admitted he was on the opposite end of the political spectrum than Tankian and Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello, who guested on John Domain's recent solo album. And he's quoted as saying, "You will never have two guys who think more differently than me and Tom Morello on a lot of subjects. But what a sweet and humble person and a caring person. And a relationship shows that you can be completely different politically minded people and still have a lasting and great relationship." He then added, "I guess the same can be said about Serge, but he's stuck with me. I'm in his band."
Yeah. Hashtag System of a Down are cancelled. It's the nature of like news reporting in 2020, right? The only thing that's going to be taken from that is the headline, the byline for it. That he's quoted as saying Trump is the greatest friend of minorities, and don't like it doesn't change the truth of it. But actually, for me, if I was to run a title for that, it would actually be that part there. I would try and work that in there, because that's how you win people over. Be good with this. What's the name of that guy? The black KKK guy.
I know who you're on about, but I don't remember his name.
Is it Daryl?
You would be able to tell me or say better than me. You're right, like, you don't change people's opinions by not talking to them.
Darryl Davis.
Darryl Davis.
Who's done a lot of a lot of great work in that de-radicalizing people by just
white supremacists. That's right.
Being human. So yeah, John, I might not agree with you, but I still respect you as a human. And if you could have a word with the rest of the members of System of a Down and maybe put out a record, that would be great. I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you.
He's already been doing that. One of the sentences in this interview is Domain has also been calling out his fellow System of a Down members in recent years for not being able to come together and record their first album since 2005's Hypnotize. Come on, fuck boys, 15 years. Get a grip.
I know. So but the sad thing is it will happen one day. I'm sure it will happen one day, right? But it won't be the same. It just won't be the same. It will be that band worked because of who they were and at the time they were, and it would just be impossible for them to put out a record and it not be just a totally different group of people. You know,
we might still get incredible music, but I think you're right. I think they were uniquely heralded because of the time in which they came, as well as who they are and what they brought out. And music's so funny, man. It moves on so quick.
Yeah.
Like genres come and go a lot quicker than people realise, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so linked to this, obviously we've got 3 stories that kind of fall into one bracket. We'll give the 3 stories and then we can talk about it quickly.
Sure.
The next one's also another drummer, and this is a post I put in the group as well. And again, just to emphasise, this isn't about polarising people politically and what you believe and what you don't.
Sure.
The overarching point of this, John Domain being a kind of good story showing how to have some decorum when it comes to your personal opinions versus your business interests, and then another 2 people who not quite as well pulling that off, right? So this one is a quote from well-known professional drummer Hilary Jones. I didn't know who Hilary Jones was, so I looked her up. She played with Tribal Tech, and she sessioned on a lot of music, apparently.
Yep.
So she must be fairly well-known in the music industry, right? Granted, I don't know a lot about that side of prog and whatever else, right? So she clearly knows what she's doing, right?
Yep.
Apparently, gear companies have rescinded endorsement deals with her over this as well. So this quote was on her own volition, on her own social media.
I can't believe I'm going to get to hear you read this.
It's mental, isn't it?
It's absolutely insane. Go on.
This is a bizarre statement to put out publicly when you are someone that relies on PR for your business to work, right? Which most businesses do, but if you're a self-employed session drummer, how people see you in public light is going to affect any job you get. Yeah. And people aren't going to buy the albums you're drumming on if you're out spouting shit like this. Anyway,
before you read it, I have to say that what this says to me, maybe people will agree with me as they hear it. I can't imagine anyone ever posting something like this unless they've had some sort of mental break. You know what I mean? Because this is such a bad decision that I would have to say that you can't be in a mentally sound place to have posted this and think that this was anything good was going to come of this.
I get what you're saying, because this isn't so much a political statement as it is a really badly and thinly veiled racist language tirade.
Yeah.
And I like, maybe I've got the idea wrong. Maybe the context from sitting in the UK and people who are in the US might find different. If you've got a different opinion on how I feel about it and how I've interpreted it, please, let's have a conversation in the comments on YouTube or whatever.
No, let's not. Go fuck yourselves.
No, that would be me a few weeks ago if we're talking about the Tories, but come on, I'm trying to be open-minded here. You gave me a row for that. Anyway, right. So this quote from Hilary Jones, right, and I'll read it verbatim.
You're just having to keep reiterating. This is Hilary Jones, not me.
Oh, that's definitely not my words, right? You were never a slave. You've had tremendous advantages in this country with affirmative action, the lowering of standards to accommodate those of you who wouldn't measure up, simply to give you something you didn't deserve, and you still complain. The excuses you made for your shortcomings are pathetic, but have zero to do with racism, slavery, or any of the popular copes you invent. Your people kill more of my people than the other way around. You rape, pillage, and pilfer, and everyone knows it. You ought to thank your lucky stars that you live in the greatest country in the world, history. I'm guessing that's the world's history. But you are too stupid and ungrateful to acknowledge it. So you don't deserve it. That's me halfway, folks. It doesn't get any better. Right? Like, I'm having to take a break from my own happiness. So we'll move on. Property rights is a key foundational principle in our society and constitution. So in that, you obviously don't concur. You do well to repatriate yourself to that shithole motherland where thuggery and theft rule the day. What motherland? Who are us and them, right? That kind of behaviour has no place in the untied states of America. I'm guessing maybe United. As the rioting and burnings is for the savage, the primitive, and the low IQ, which is anti-Anglo-Saxon culture. Anglo-Saxon culture is responsible for the invention of America and why you enjoy the freedom that you do today. So you can just say thank you or get the hell out. And then this is the worst bit. Wakanda awaits. Let's see how that works out for you. Just in case you had any ambiguity about what Hilary was on about, that is the worst thinly veiled racist tirade I've ever read. It pains me that this person has a platform to say these things.
Yeah. I honestly, right, I'm trying not to do politics because that's always the way I'm trying to do these things, right? I think that a lot of people will probably have been very surprised that I did the Black Lives Matter thing at the start of the show, right? Because I often, because I'm such a believer in the concept of free speech, I often find myself in a position where I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to people that nobody else would give the benefit of the doubt to, which sucks. Because I hate doing it for someone that I don't agree with, but my principles are free speech are very important, right? And I think this demonstrates why, actually, because I'm glad that we live in a society where she won't be arrested for that. If that was the UK, she'd absolutely be put away for posting something like that. But I'm glad that we're not, because it's as a society, we can now act accordingly based on that, and we can freeze this person out. Like, I have no interest in dealing with this. That's the worst thing I think I've ever seen anyone post on social media ever. And they work in PR.
That's it. She's self-employed as a session drummer. Can I just put some other context on it? I've just read in the comments, right?
God.
So someone said, I googled, couldn't find the original post. Where was this posted? Which is just due diligence, I suppose, isn't it? Right? She sent this as a private message and it was leaked, but she's doubling down and defending it on her social media comments. So you said that privately, it was leaked, and then you went, I meant it, every word.
It's just absolutely amazing. And horrifying at the same time. Like, genuinely, especially as someone that she works in, like, rock and blues and jazz and fusion, and this is all music that has come out of black culture. Like, you wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this and also to praise the Anglo-Saxons. What? How did they end up in the UK?
It's funny you're talking about like this person clearly has had some sort of mental breakdown, right? She's either a horrendously bigoted person who's held these views for a long time, or you're right, she spent too long reading Trump quotes or something. I don't know, like, somebody get this woman a fucking straitjacket and just give her a week's peace and quiet and see what happens.
To have said something like that in private, I'm not going to defend it, but I can understand when you talk to someone in private, there is that feeling of security, and you might say things that you wouldn't necessarily say publicly. The problem with, I think it's always shitty when people dox things that have been said in private. It largely is a shitty thing to do. But when that happens, I think if you were to have conversations that you'd had with somebody leak publicly, I think your gut instinct is usually to double down, because otherwise to say, oh yeah, no, I didn't really mean that, just makes you a person. She could either be a person that has absolutely no conviction, or she could be a person that is a piece of shit. And I think she doesn't realise she's a piece of shit, so she's doubled down to go with the I have conviction at least. Like, oh, wow. So yeah, she's lost all her endorsements, and that'll be the end of her career.
Also looks like she's lost a lot of her fans. So she's updated on her Facebook, she's updated her website address, right, the 26th of May. And a comment from 14 hours ago, that I'm guessing this has just went red hot because that was the last update on her Facebook, right? The two comments that stand out are, you'll have some solid clan gigs ready for hire, that's good. And I can't see one comment here in support of her. You know it's bad when even MAGA won't touch this one.
Yeah, and actually I feel bad that we led with that one, because that is, to me, so much worse than the Full Tone post. The Full Tone post, for anyone unaware, was the guy, is it Mike? Is his name Mike?
Who's this?
Michael Fuller from Michael Fuller from Full Tone.
The owner. Are we moving on to that fun one?
Well, yeah. So he says, what is this? Like, night 4 of looting with 100% impunity. Pussy mayor and governor don't give a shit about small businesses, and it's never been more clear. And then he says, I feel better. Flushed out some prissy boys who were raised to peace sitting down. Now I'll delete. So I see why. I do understand why people jumped on that. It's worth pointing out he did issue an apology. He did issue an apology over this.
So not only is he a piece of shit, he's also spineless and won't stand behind his own words.
I don't know if I agree with that though.
I know that's like the common argument. Like, if somebody's at least acknowledging the fucked up, but give him the benefit of it.
No, when I say I don't know if I agree with that, like, I don't see him posting anything. I don't see any racism in what he's posted. You know what I mean? Like, I think at least I fucking hope that we can all agree that if you are currently in LA, I'm not going to say you can loot with absolute impunity, but you can essentially loot with absolute impunity. And that isn't something that I'm sure we can all look at that and go, well, in a perfect world, that wouldn't be the case. when he defended, he apologized and defended his position. He pointed out that looting and things like that is something that he is against, and that is what he was going for. And if you read carefully what he says, like, that is what he's saying. It's not like he's posting All Lives Matter. It's not like he's posting Black Lives Don't Matter. It's not like he's posting White Lives Matter. You know what I mean? And especially after reading the post from before, where that's not thinly veiled racism. That's
like an all-out standing in your garden in your clan suit, waving your fucking swastika.
Yeah. After that, Mike Fuller doesn't look like that bad a guy.
But I think he's just being careful enough not to say anything that makes him super incriminating, because if you read the rest of it, there's another 2 screenshots, and one is from Brian, who is the member of the public not included in Full Tone Pedals that runs their Facebook page for them. And he wrote, "This is not a riot, this is rebellion. Justice for George Floyd. I don't care what Mike says on his own page. I run this page and will promote the movement." And that's on the Full Tone Pedals page, so that must be the official business page, right? And then there's an email from Michael Fuller to somebody else.
It was to Drusif.
Was it?
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So it says, "I'm begging you to sell your Full Tone products because you don't deserve them. You are actually so racist that you believe the good people who are protesting are the same as the organised gangbanger criminals who are looting storefronts. Those storefronts are good, hard-working people's lives and livelihoods. In fact, if I see you with a Full Tone pedal, I will tag it and break into your house and loot it from you because it's my free expression to do so." Right? He's kind of misunderstanding the point of people protesting against large businesses, Target and stuff. I don't really necessarily agree with looting small stores and independent, but no justice, no peace. That kind of goes with the territory, doesn't it? And
no, I don't think so. No,
no,
not largely, because I think I've obviously seen a lot of footage of looting over the last couple of weeks, and I do find it really interesting. Like, you can't tell what's going on inside someone's head. You can't, but you can have a gut feeling that you can tell the difference between somebody that's having a good time, an opportunist, is happy that they're running off with their 4 new pairs of shoes as they get into their Mercedes to drive off, and versus the people that are outside genuinely protesting.
Obviously there's a difference.
It's always going to be it's the no true Scotsman fallacy. It would be it's always going to be impossible to look at the 2 people and say, you're here for the right reasons, you're here for the wrong reasons. Because I see the argument that you're making, and I'm supportive of the argument that peaceful protests aren't actually always possible.
The people who are at the moment marching in America, and I'm saying this specifically because it's the example I can see, have tried peaceful protests so far, are still trying to peacefully protest, but there's been incidents that show that maybe that's not what's working. Maybe the next step forward, and even just this is what could happen, like not a threat, but like this is the alternative. We want to stay peaceful. What do you want to do? And without going down this, because my point wasn't to go down this rabbit hole of political wise. It was what I wanted to talk about was more so the delicate art of balancing your PR if you have your own company and you are responsible for the public image of a company.
Yeah.
But I think there definitely needs to be a line separated between, exactly as you say, people who are opportunist or just there to vandalise, and people who are working forward, trying to make a big look at the bigger picture.
Nothing kind of warms my heart more than seeing genuine protesters stopping people vandalising property, or handing over people that are looting to the police, because they understand that it can undermine their cause. And it's also a PR battle when you think about it. Like, we're talking about PR. If they allow their position to be overrun by bad faith actors, it will essentially undermine their cause. It will undermine their cause. Right. So it warms my heart and actually gives me hope that there is the potential for things to go in the right direction with this.
I think the significant majority. I think the significant majority of people who are out protesting are doing exactly that. They're trying to be in good faith, peaceful, work towards a resolution. And there are agitators in the crowd, outside actors, however you want to term it. I'm using terms that people have used. I hope it doesn't sound as if I'm just like taking other people's opinions or whatever.
Sure.
But there's always going to be people that just tag along for the shits and giggles. I'm just here for the chaos, whatever, right? Significant majority of people that I know personally who are involved, that are posting about it on social media, they're there peacefully.
Yeah.
They're socially distancing as much as they can. They're wearing masks. They're trying to be conscious. But they're also there for solidarity. The point is, we want everybody to stand in the same way. And you're talking about, like, just before I go back to my actual point, like, soon you're talking about, like, people shopping people into the police and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't seen very many examples of that, because it seems to be the police are the agitators. Just about everything I've seen in social media, and I'm saying that as in that this is the context in which I've seen the information. Just about everything I've seen on social media has either showed the police being apathetic or being the agitators.
Yeah.
Not saying that's definitely the truth. I'm saying that's the media that I've seen. And as much as I would say that there's probably just as much validity in what people who are supporting the police are saying as there is people against the police are saying, truth of the matter is, the truth is somewhere in the middle, and we'll never really find out unless everybody in good faith tells the truth, and it's never going to work that way, because everybody's biased and everybody is rooting for their own team. Just to be factual. Anyway, I don't know if you want to add anything else onto that, or we can just go back to the original point. As I said, I didn't want to get too political. My point in these were...
We knew it was going to be inevitable for this episode.
Oh, aye. But we've done well. I mean, we're only, 20 minutes over our usual guideline, and we've kind of touched on it, but we've spoke about essential stuff, right? My point is entirely, if you are in control of your own brand and you have strong political beliefs or religious beliefs or whatever, it's probably a very good idea that they do not get aired in public light unless you're willing to accept the shitstorm that you're probably causing yourself.
I do totally agree with you, but I also look at every brand that has posted a Black Lives Matter thing, and that is exactly the thing that we're saying not to do. Like, it is still getting involved. We're looking at it and saying you're on the right side of history, but it is still getting involved.
I think that's different, no, and I don't mean that as in it's different in terms of it won't have an impact in your business and you need to consider that impact. But I think, here's my example. I know Bandcamp are doing, or it's not Bandcamp, sorry. Friends of mine in a band, Tiberius, they're doing a thing where any digital pre-orders of their album for, I think it was today, every single penny they make off those digital pre-orders is going towards the ongoing bail fund that I was talking to you about earlier on, or another really good cause, right? They're like, for a day, if you pre-order this, no pennies are coming to us, everyone's going to this good cause, right? I get that that's them kind of co-opting, but they're not the same platform as like Nike, who just changes their image to black or to like a rainbow flag because they're like gay pride or whatever, right? They're not like co-opting on and just being like, give me money. There's plenty of brands out there that will do that, and it's good to be sceptical and very aware of that, as I agree with you. But there's probably a lot of other things, companies and stuff out there that are like, nah, let's just actually support these causes, and this is what we actually stand for.
Yeah.
But it's important to know there's a difference, and important to know that both of those things exist.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess with the what's his name, the Full Tone guy, if he was going a pro police route, which I don't think he is, but if he was going a pro police route, and that was his strongly held conviction, like, I would respect the fact that he is making that decision to potentially alienate all of his business to do that, in the same way that I respect other companies and peers and friends that again have done the same with their own business and been very publicly pro in support of things like this, because again they deem it to be something that is important. I respect that. So good on you, everybody, for whatever decisions you make in your life.
That's it. I'm not saying that these are great examples or warnings because these people are on the wrong side of history. Whether you believe that or not, it's besides the point, right? Like, I do believe that, but that's my personal opinion. But I wouldn't necessarily use a platform to push that forward in such a divisive way, or try not to. I know I've done it in the past in previous episodes when I spoke about the Conservative Party, right? I'm quite charged in that respect. And there's probably a lot of people in America who are charged because they'll be closer to these scenarios. But I guess what my point was is like these are good examples of when people who are responsible for their own PR or their brand's public image have went out and they're either doubling down, which at least, as you say, you respect their right to say what they've got to say, and that's what they believe with conviction. Not that I would really agree that with the Hillary comment because she sent it in private. I think she's doubling down because she's just went defensive. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. But the full tone one just seems like being a wank for the sake of being a wank.
I just think on a scale of 1 to 10, the full tone one has been blown out of all level of proportion because there's nothing more appealing in a scenario like that. And it makes you kind of see why rioting happens and why looting happens. Just that mob mentality takes over and that witch hunt thing takes over because there are. It's a slacktivism at its best to me. Like, who said something that could be possibly perceived as being insensitive? Let's finish them. Let's fucking end their business. And I don't think it's massively productive. I don't think it. But the people that are posting about full tone like he's the worst thing since cancer, they feel good about themselves. So good on you.
In some regard, here's the context I would add to it, right? I do not and would or have not and probably won't own any full tone pedals just because I don't really know much about the brand. Mm-hmm. And there'll be plenty of people who are the opposite way. Like, I fucking love what they do, whatever pedals they do.
OCD is their big one.
OCD is one of them, right? Fair enough. Which is like a super, super clean boost. Yep. Right. It's great, probably a great pedal. I've never owned any. But I think anybody that's a current owner or has owned and has sold their product because they don't support them completely has the right to do so. And they've probably got more of a right to comment on this scenario than I do. I don't have a financial interest or a vested interest.
Yeah.
And what it's saying, my point was just like, it's not a good example of positive PR. And there's a very fine line between putting your own personal views forward and whether you should be doing that in light of what might happen with your business. And you should just be aware of the risks.
Yes.
And the outcomes that are likely to happen and what could happen, right? Fair enough.
So, yeah, there you go. There's the Guitar Souls giving business advice to all of the prolific businesses that listen to our show.
Says me that's never been self-employed and has no business mind at all.
Okay, I'm going to throw one last story now. I'm going to literally do it in 10 seconds. James Hetfield of Metallica is now making tables. That's all I'm going to say. James Hetfield of Metallica is now making tables. It's a meme in itself because of I am the table. He isn't the table, but he is now the father of the table. So good on you, James, for making a stand and making a table.
Making a stand. I mean, technically, a table is a stand, isn't it? It's like an ornament stand.
So. Also, buy an Ormsby cant. This show has been brought to you by Ormsby Guitars. If you are unfamiliar with Ormsby and what they do, I would recommend you head on over to ormsbyguitars.com. Absolutely wonderful instruments made out of Australia by Perry Ormsby. They focus on a lot of really interesting things, probably most notably the multi-scale thing. You can see a couple of them hanging behind my head. I am a big fan of the Goliath series. Having said that, I've also almost ordered myself a Hype over the years, and I think the thing that Ormsby do that, lots of companies have dabbled in, but they do a great job of it, is these runs of builds. You can go on their website now, check out the pre-order section of their website, and you will see a series of upcoming runs of guitar. You can get in on those with prepayment plans and really get yourself a nice, well-built instrument for an unbelievable price. So thanks to Ormsby Guitars for supporting the show. Go and check them out and let them know that we sent you. Thanks very much.
That's the worst accent I've ever heard.
Is it?
Ban Ormsby, you can't.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode. It is definitely political, but certainly not a politically charged episode.
It's hard to avoid it, and especially at the moment, right?
Yeah, it just bums me out, to be honest, when it's not even necessarily that people disagree with us on things. It's just they come to us because they want to hear about guitar stuff. They want to talk about guitars and music and shit like that. And I know they don't disagree with us on things, but they also just don't want to hear it. They'll go to an actual politics podcast if they want to hear about fucking politics.
Well, we've done our best to try and skirt the fine lines of not being political but still giving the stories out. So if people are happy with that, or that doesn't suit, please let us know in the comments. There's a better way to even put this conversation forward. We are never going to know what's ticking your boxes and what isn't if we're not getting feedback on it. We've been very lucky. There's a very active community, certainly on YouTube and on the Facebook, of people sending us messages, giving us content, sending us comments, and just engaging with us, right? And that's what we want. That's the whole point. The whole point in any of these topics is entertainment and discourse. Entertainment for the funny ones, discourse for the serious ones, and just anything in between. But if you feel as if we are getting too political, or we're missing the aim, or you're not liking it, or you've got some suggestions, hit us up.
Yeah, the worst that can happen is I'll tell you to go fuck yourself. And I have been known to do that when some people have given us suggestions. But also at the same time, actually, I do absolutely take people's I take people's input on things like this very seriously, which is why we kind of eased away from the political stuff, because you guys matter to us. Your opinions matter. So all opinions matter. Is that? That's Levi Clay cancelled now.
Deservedly.
Such is life. I'm an insensitive cant. What can I say?
One other wee thing to say is a lot of people have been, and I'm thankful for this, a lot of people have been like finding TTMs online for sale and sending me links like, you said you want one, right? Keep doing that, because as soon as one comes cheap enough and I've got the money sitting, either Levi or I are going to be straight on it, because we want to have our fun with it.
Yeah, if one comes cheap enough, I'm all over it.
It'd be fucking amazing, right? But there's a couple of that I've seen online, some on eBay, some in like, one was in like, it wasn't in Norman's Rare Guitars, but some Facebook page like that. And I don't know if it's somebody who's getting the guitars from China, directly from whatever factory that Lance was getting his items from, because the pictures have all got the actual TTM logo, Devastator on the fretboard, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But then offering them as if they're semi-customs, that you can upgrade them. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know. I'm not going to share the link, but if you look up TTM guitars and find a website with like 6 or 7 different models available, you'll probably find it. I've seen a few on DHgate and on like AliExpress, and again, the interface between Chinese factories and selling on like to the rest of the world. There's been a couple on there, but it's like TTM Devastator Superstrat, and you're like, it's not really a TTM, surely. And the pictures are of the guitars that Lance was selling.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, they were
probably the
somewhere,
factory,
weren't they? So.
Totally. Whether that's the factory that sold them or not, like they're going to be every part a TTM minus the logo, maybe minus the fretboard inlays or whatever, right? But just being honest, that's essentially what's there.
Yeah.
Other than that, if anybody gets their hands on one and they want to send us it, even to have a laugh with and send you it back, like we'll give your instrument the utmost respect it deserves.
Will we?
Not saying I'm not going to smash somebody's TTM unless they want us to. Yeah. That's different. My point is that if somebody wants to give us one to try and to talk about and as a showpiece, then I'd love that. I'd be happy to take that. Look at it.
If you own one and you want to sell it for what it's actually worth, if you want £50, I'm happy to give it to you.
If they're going to sell it to you for what it's worth, they're going to have to give you £50 with the guitar.
Good point.
Give them a chance, right?
Yeah.
Again, like maybe there's one or two out in the wild that actually play nice and aren't complete dogs.
Well, it's totally possible. The Chinese import ones, like you will have guitars that come out of China that are absolute players. It's actually annoying because when you think about it, we can't win in this scenario. If we get our hands on one of them, people will just moan at us if we destroy it, because they'll be like, "You could have given that to someone less fortunate." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, no one deserves this piece of shit."
That's it. That would be a punishment.
Yeah,
not a gift.
Right.
Just one more point about that. You know, I think it'd be really ironic, right? And probably is really ironic that the majority of TTM guitars of maybe 12 in real existence, right? 6 of them are USA customs that just aren't playing guitars. And the other 6 that might exist are Chinese and probably are better quality than the USA customs.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it on that.
It's a wild one. We're, as always, we are your primary source for TTM news, other than all the shreds. So as and when things happen, we will let you know.
Just a quick update then. Obviously, there was another call that Andrew Catania was on. I don't know if anybody else jumped in and linked in, but I haven't heard anything that happened on the call.
I've got the full recording of the call, and it's not funny. There's nothing really funny that happens in there. There's certainly things in there that are examples of Lance potentially perjuring himself, but that's not funny, and therefore me editing that into a video to laugh at isn't.
No. I mean, like, there's not. I don't know what happened in the call, but we've not heard anything that's really necessarily funny. As you're saying, that's just if that's the content of that call, then fair enough.
Yeah.
But any good news we will pass on.
Yeah.
So far, it's out of everybody's hands as to what's going to happen.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'll still end up in that $3 billion lawsuit. Mike, much love. Until next time.
Bye, fuckers.